morning, everyone. Welcome to the lands of the Bundjalungs peoples, whom we acknowledge as the traditional custodians of country. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'm privileged to be your celebrant and would like to commence today's ceremony with a short reading. From all that I've learned about Harry, he would have liked this very much. This is Honouring You by Terry St. Cloud. Weeping and aching, I longed to honour your passing. I longed to honour your life. Searching everywhere, I found only one answer. Honour myself, become all that I am, and carry you inside that beauty. So much poignancy carried in so few words. I think this short poem represents exactly why we gather here today. On behalf of Harry's family, I welcome you all to his ceremony, where we will honour him, yes, and also ourselves, how we felt and feel about Harry, the seat he took at our table, the place he held in our hearts. It is true that to live our best life is to honour those who have passed, as we in turn will pass. Did Harry live his best life? Yes. Yes, he did, didn't he? I see you nodding. He lived fully and to life's limit and died doing one of the things he loved most. So we thank you, Harry, for showing us in a very real way how to honour one's life. As you will hear and probably already know, Harry had a love of music and was a talented guitarist. Here is one of Harry's favourite guitarists, James Taylor, with You Can Close Your Eyes. I ask you all to quietly reflect while it is played. It is now my honour to share with you something of Harry's life. Harry was born Harold George Smith on the 10th of March 1953 at Lismore Base Hospital to Lenore Catherine Smith and George Martin Smith. Harry was a little brother to Norman, aged 3, and 2 years later Harry's younger brother Robert would be born, followed by the youngest Smith boy, Martin, in another 2 years. Lenny and George had inherited Lenny's parents' dairy farm, and although they no longer had cattle, they did have sheep, goats, chickens, pigs, and a very large veggie garden, which the brothers were responsible for taking care of. Harry would be up early to do chores before school and would go straight home after school to complete more chores. The boys would sell their produce at the Sunday market, and Harry grew up with a strong work ethic. Twice a year, the family would go away for camping holidays. They went to Ballina, Lamington National Park, Byron Bay, and once to the Gold Coast. Their grandparents lived in Maroochydore on the Sunshine Coast, and some school holidays were spent with them. Harry loved being at the beach, and his grandfather took all the boys out in his boat and taught them to fish. Harry's school days were uneventful, and he was a good student and liked by his peers and his teachers. His only real time away from study, the farm and his jobs was when he was at football training or games. Harry liked Aussie rules football, and he continued to play right through to old boys. When not kicking a footy or working, he played on his acoustic guitar and became quite proficient. Harry met Marion Patricia Fenmore at Teachers College in Lismore. Within 2 years, they became engaged, but Marion wanted to complete her degree and work before settling down to a family. So after a long engagement, they married on the 12th of September 1981. Soon after, they moved to Tweed Heads, where they lived whilst building the family home in Currumbin. Tempest was born a year after the wedding, a darling daughter, and was closely followed by Adrian. 2 years later, Christian was born, and last but by no means least, Eric was born 3 years later, completing the family. Harry wanted 2 more children, but Marion was adamant she was done. According to his children, other family members and their friends, Harry was an amazing father and family man, doing his share of nappy changes and night feeds, and then fostering a love of nature and outdoor activities in his children. Harry played football with the Burleigh Bombers. He played his 50th and then his 100th game. Harry was a skilled teacher and just like his own school days, was popular with his students and the teaching faculty. The family joined the Gold Coast Game Fish Club, and Harry joined the Volunteer Marine Rescue in Currumbin. It was at the Game Fish Club that Harry met Franco. He and his wife Gianna had immigrated from Sicily in 1975. Franco and Gianna had a 2-year-old daughter, and Gianna was pregnant with their second child. The two couples quickly became firm friends, and Harry was horrified when he learned that despite being a keen fisherman, Franco could not swim. So he and Marion set about teaching both Franco and Gianna to swim, then surf, their babies sleeping peacefully under their fly nets in their bassinets on the beach. Harry's deep-sea fishing charter business was extremely successful, and within only a few years, he and Marion had paid off their house and could afford to take their growing family on interstate holidays. They often went to the same places Harry himself had gone as a child, meeting Harry's siblings and Marion's sister Ellen for huge family get-togethers. The Smiths, Salvatore and Disposer kids and cousin Nicky remember these times as some of the best of their lives. There would be swimming and fishing all day, and at night a campfire. The guitars would come out and the kids would try to stay awake to see how funny their parents and aunts and uncles were after a few beverages. But inevitably their eyelids would grow too heavy to keep open. They remember waking up to find Harry up and cooking bacon and eggs, pushing them to get dressed and ready for the day's adventure. Harry's grandchildren have been fortunate enough to have experienced a few of these family camping trips too. In 2005, the Smith and Salvatore families went on a trip to Italy and France. They stayed with Franco's family when they were in Sicily, and the men went deep-sea fishing with some of the kids while the women relaxed and went sightseeing. Harry also competed and fished in many other places around the world: Mexico, the Florida Keys, Thailand and Costa Rica. He gave his daughter Tempest his love of travel, new places, people, food and music. Harry was a skilled memory builder. He was kind, proactive, full of life and laughter. Harry has won many awards. He has won Best and Fairest 7 times, Best on Ground 23 times. He has won numerous trophies and prizes for fishing and for innovative sustainability practices. He has won tiny hands in plaster, drawings, plaster trophies, and hand-painted by children, feathers, rocks and sea glass, all for being the best something, the best dad, the best grandfather, the best teacher. 10 years ago, Harry's third child, Christian, married his high school sweetheart, Fiona, and 2 years later, Harry became a grandfather, a role he took up with gusto. That baby Kai is now 8, and his brother Fletcher 7. Harry's first son and his wife Naomi have 2 sons, Zale, who is 6, and Dylan, just 3 years old. These boys are the apple of Harry's eye. He adored them, and they he. Having grandchildren went some way to soothing Harry's great grief at the loss of his younger brother Rob, who a decade ago at the age of 56 was killed in an accident with a drunk driver. Harry wanted to just crawl under a blanket and stay there, but he had family to take care of, children to grandfather, life to live. He showed the family how one goes on in the midst of pain and tragedy. Then 7 years ago, in 2014, Marion was diagnosed with breast cancer. After a double mastectomy and a course of treatment, she went into remission for 18 months. However, when the cancer returned, her decision was to refuse further treatment. Franco and Peter say that this is the first time they saw their friend helpless and hopeless, but that Harry would nevertheless get up, dress up and show up to care for his dying wife. In April 2016, Marion passed away peacefully at home, with Harry and her children by her side. It is testament to Harry's resilience and love of life that he rallied his children and friends around him and accepted all the support offered to the family. Harry reportedly said that he may have been the family organiser and the doer, but that Marion was the glue holding the family together, and that everyone needed to hold on tight to each other until the great winds of grief stopped blowing so hard. They needed to stick together. I think that is what Harry would be saying to us all now, to hold on tight. Harry is a huge loss in our lives, and it will be so very tempting to want to fill up that gaping hole that his death will leave. Harry has affected everyone he met. There are little or large pieces of Harrydom in you all. His wisdom, his love, his wicked sense of humour, his teachings. I know he would want you to remember those things, and after the first most raw part of your grieving, to gather and to laugh again, to be joyous about Harry and how he went about living. I was graced with this knowledge by Harry's family and friends, and I thank them for their honesty and openness in such a time of extreme joy and sorrow. It's now time for someone else to speak. Fiona, Glenn, Nikki, Martin and Peter, would you join me please? Harry's daughter-in-law Fiona would like to talk to you. Thank you, Fiona. Peter, Harry's dear friend, has a reading. This is Prayer for the Horizon by Gwyneth Lewis. Thanks, Peter. Glenn will now speak to you all about his father-in-law, Harry. Thanks, Glenn. And now Harry's niece, Nikki, would like to speak to you all. Thank you, Nikki. Martin, Harry's youngest brother, will now read What is This Life by Michael Leunig, Harry's favourite cartoonist. May I now direct you all to the screen to laugh and cry at this slideshow depicting the life and times of Harry Smith, while The Long Road by Eddie Vedder and Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan plays. We're nearing the end of our ceremony now, and I would like to invite anyone who would like to approach the front, light a candle for Harry from the main candles burning, and while placing your candle in its holder, consider briefly your favourite memory, or even just say your goodbyes. I think that's everyone now, thank you. Before the committal, I would like to invite you all to remain for some refreshments and connection with each other. You who knew Harry have much to discuss. Later this evening, there will be a second wake to commence at 7 p.m. at the Kirra Beach Surf Lifesaving Club, the oldest club on the coast, I believe, and one of Harry's favourite places to have dinner, or tea, as he would have called his evening meal. Harry has asked for a cremation, so ladies and gentlemen, family, loved ones, we now say our final goodbyes to Harry George Smith. Would everyone please stand? Harry stipulated our final goodbye to be in the form of a song, and he said, "You'd better dance while you cry, but don't fall over." This is Fatboy Slim with Praise You.